Alright guys, so since every single element, rare and common, has finally been remastered, I am finally going to be doing the element worst to best. Now this will probably be the final one for a while now, so feel free to stick with these rankings if you want to. If you guys enjoyed this video, remember to subscribe to the video, guys. Right, so coming in last place, which is 13th place, is going to be actually the lightning element. Now the lightning element is honestly not that bad on its own. I actually think that the lightning element is pretty good for what it is. It's just honestly, I like to view the lightning element as being only good for the first and third ability. Even though the other abilities, which is like, there's the stun attack, which obviously really isn't that great since it's a dash move. You do have the lightning ring move, which is one of my personal favorites because it does have a lot of delay to it. All the other attacks, honestly, like even the sixth one and the second one, the only useful moves of lightning are going to be the first and third one. The third one, obviously, just for, raw damage output, it does a ton of damage. And the first move just for combo extending. But these moves, in the grand scheme of things, there's only two really good abilities of it, and the damage is just kind of, mid. Now, coming in 12th place on this list is going to be Chaos/Order. I am using the Order skin because I like it more. Now, Chaos/Order, I do think that this is a really weird element overall. It has a lot of damage output, but I do think the abilities have so much delay that it's probably going to be insanely easy to counter this in PvP. Now, the actual moves of Chaos/Order, I mean, if you know how to use them properly, they're going to be pretty good. Like, obviously, the first two moves I just showed you are block breaks. The third move, as you guys can see, it has an absolutely tiny AoE, but it is a sort of place lock stun. The fourth move is a point and click. This is actually an insanely high damage ability, as you guys see, 82,000 damage. I can see people throwing this move into their kit just for, a free damage ability, like a guard break into this. It's just free damage at that point. And then obviously, guys, the fifth ability is an iframe ability. And this is pretty, fun to use in general, but I'm pretty sure it can be canceled after the startup. And then the sixth move, I'm gonna say it here, I do think the sixth move is pretty bad. So Chaos/Order only really has, a couple moves going for it. And even then, they're, subpar guard breaks. Like, that ability is just a worse Earth Rage Trail. The first move is just kind of like a it's an okay ability in general, but I don't see people using it very much. The third move has an absolutely tiny AoE, and the fourth move is a, it's not a fast damage burst, so it's just one of those abilities that people are going to use in general, just like randomly. Now, coming in 11th place is actually going to be Fire. Now, Fire, obviously, if you guys have fought Fire by now, you know that guys know it has an instant combo extending move, which is obviously, pretty good. I would like to say that the moves of Fire that are actually worth using are the first, the fourth, and the sixth one. The fourth one, if you guys are unaware, is a big giant damage burst ability that does raise them in the air. It's really, really good for burst combos. It's really easy to integrate as well because, since they're being stunned inside of it, you can do a bunch of moves that do, quick damage burst to them. The sixth move of Fire is an extremely long stun move on an element, which is honestly hilarious in my opinion. And I do actually think that Fire has a lot going for it, the three moves that I mentioned being good about it. Now, coming to 10th place, it could be Combustion, slightly over Fire. It's just Fire with more damage. I mean, they didn't really make Combustion anything different than Flame. It kind of has sort of the same abilities with a little bit of after effect attached to it. Now, the difference between Combustion and Flame, I'll say this, is that Combustion has a really, really cool AoE ability where when you hit the ground, like that's just Flame, Flame Fireball too. When you hit the ground, it does do an AoE stun, but this move is borderline useless in actual PvP. You won't see people using this at all. And then the sixth move is obviously good. It's the best move of Fire, so it's bound to be the best move of Combustion. It's just a stun with more damage. I mean, what can you say? It's Fire with more. Have you ever gotten 80th spin rarity and gotten something like just atomic? Well, that's because you haven't hit the like button on this video yet. If you hit the like button on this video, you're guaranteed to get 10 million times luck. 100%. Now, coming in 9th place is going to be Gale. Now, Gale is actually, I would rank it lower, but I actually do feel like the pull move of Gale is pretty worth it, all things considered. I do think the pull move, being the way it is, does make Gale actually insanely strong, especially when you use moves like Apollo Sand and stuff like that. The pull move will absolutely destroy. Also, Gale does have the AoE instant ability, which is the third one, and I think he just crashed because of the move, so, that's a plus to it. And I do actually think, it has the AoE stun move. It has the pull move, which is really good. The sixth move is pretty good as well. It just does a absolutely massive damage burst. So I do think with these moves, I do think that, Gale is pretty good, all things considered, especially better than the other ones because it has, stuns. It has a huge damage burst. It pretty much has everything below this combined. Now, coming in 8th place is actually going to be Water. Now, this is honestly because of the pure damage output of Water. This is an instantaneous combo starting ability. The actual third ability of Water is a close range high damage ability. Like, look at the damage amount. Look at the damage counter right now, guys. Just take a second. Look at the damage counter after this Water Dragon. Water does absolute tons of damage. That's the reason why it's going to rank this high. It does have some combo starting and combo extending potential, but the main reason why people use Water is for the damage alone. Now, coming in 7th place is actually going to be Pyromania. Now, I do think people are kind of sleeping on Pyromania at this point, just because, the new elements released, they're not that hype anymore, but I do think Pyromania Mania still has a lot of combo extending potential, a lot of combo, you know, I do think combo extending is kind of what Pirate Mania does best. Some of the elements do that now. The 6th ability is pretty good for keeping up pressure, and I do think that, you know, the combo extending potential of Pirate Mania does carry it to being 7th place on this list. The coming to 6th place is going to be Yin Yang or Gilga. I am, of course, using the Gilga skin because I like it the most, but Gilga, in my opinion, I do think Gilga is kind of an underrated element right now. Now, I will say this, that Gilga or Yin and Yang in general is only really good for a few abilities. The 2nd ability is an insanely good combo extending or combo starting, combo ending ability in general. The actual 3rd ability is a point and click ability, is a very fast damage burst, really good for burst combos. The 4th move is an iframe that was added to the iframe global cooldown, so I am expecting a little bit of a buff to this iframe, but you know, it used to be really good because it wasn't on any global cooldown. 5th ability is pretty terrible, and the 6th ability has too much delay to actually be worth using. But I will say this though, I do think the 2nd ability and the 3rd ability do carry this to being, you know, 6th place on this list. Now coming to 5th place is going to be Shiver / Prism style. Now this is honestly for only 2 reasons. First of all, this beam right here is by far one of the strongest, if not the strongest, block breaker in the game right now. There's some really strong ones right now, so that's why I'm a little iffy about it. But this move is insanely long, it stuns after the block break, and it does Brock Blake stronger blocks. So it's an insanely strong guard break. I would compare it to the likes of Mecha Spirit. I do think that, you know, the fact that it goes for longer, if you miss the move on the start, you actually can hit them afterwards, and it does guard break after that. It is also instantaneous after you cast it. There's no delay to it after you actually start it, so extremely strong guard breaking move. Then obviously, guys, the 6th move, even though it actually is easy to counter, you can combo extend with it by dashing at the end of it, so that's something to be considered. And I do actually think the other moves of Shiver are okay, but it's definitely those 2 moves that carry Shiver to where it is on this list. Now this may be crazy, Wind being ranked above its rare version Gale, but Wind is honestly really strong right now. The 5th move bypasses counter iframes, which is actually, you know, really good for counting people in general. Also, the 1st move of Wind is actually a pretty good damage combo extending ability. And then obviously, guys, the 6th ability of Wind is a block break, extremely long stun ability that actually does a decent amount of damage as well. Also, the AoE of it is pretty large. You can jump over it, so that's something to be considered. But I do feel like Wind with these actually 3 abilities is insanely strong. Also, the 4th one can be used for combos. It's kind of hard to hit on people, especially, you know, if they're moving around. But this 6th move and this 5th move definitely make Wind a huge force to be reckoned with. Now, I know this is going to sound troll. I know this is going to sound like, oh my gosh, you're joking about this, but I was actually considering putting this element at number 1 on this list. It is going to be the basic element Earth. Yes. So first of all, this Rage Trail ability, it has an absolutely, you know, it has the actual AoE of it glitches out sometimes. It'll hit you even if you're not in it. It does block break stronger block. You know, it does a lot of damage as well, and it also ragdolls them. So honestly, this move, if you're actually decent at the game, you could also cast it in the air. It isn't ground locked or anything like that. It will make this move is pretty much an instant combo if you land it. It's undescribably good. I mean, that's the best way to put it. So even if they're in the air, you can actually cast it while you're in the air and hit them. I have fought this move a lot, guys, and this move is absolute AIDS. Trust me, I bet you guys have fought it by now. Now, the 2nd move is actually a really long place lock stun, which is absolutely hilarious on a projectile move, but it is a really long place lock stun on a projectile move. The 5th move, if you have good aim, does a lot of damage. It also block breaks stronger block. And then the 4th move is also pretty... Every move of Stone is good. It has an iframe move. It has an AoE stun move. It has an absolutely massive AoE move that's good for PvE and PvP content. The 1st move, Rage Trail, is an insanely good combo starter extender, and the 2nd move is an extremely long place lock. Every move of Stone is good, and it's a basic element. The coming in 2nd place as my used to be and new favorite element is going to be Cement. Now, this isn't here for bias, obviously, guys. The 1st ability is it's an instant 8-second cooldown. Yes, 8-second cooldown. Those practically don't really exist in this game before. Some of the other ones have that as well, but it isn't a ragdoll stun. So it's an 8-second ragdoll stun combo extending ability. The 2nd one is actually a counter ability that does 32,000 damage with a 16-second cooldown. So imagine Sand counter, but just equipable to any slot on your element bar. That's how good Cement counter actually is. The 3rd move of Cement is literally just Stone Dragon. I mean, there's not really much to say about it. The Rage Trail does more damage than Stone Rage Trail, but it doesn't actually block break, which I think it may be worse in a lot of different scenarios because of that. The 5th ability is an absolutely massive AoE stun ability, as you guys can see. And then the 6th ability is just a it's a dash ability. Now, the reason why Cement's going to rank above Earth is because I do actually think the iframe ability being a low cooldown iframe, you know, you guys know how good Sand Counter is. The first ability being an instant ragdoll stun, you know, it obviously still has the really good dragon ability, and the Rage Trail does do a lot of damage. Also, it has this absolutely massive ability, which is pretty cool. By the way, guys, what is your favorite element in Shindo Life? From the comments below, we'll be checking them out. Coming in first place, if you guys have been doing PvP in this game, is obviously going to be Acid. Now, let's get started with the reason why it's going to be so high. First of all, the first ability, the iframe, the cooldown triggers before the move actually starts, so the actual duration, the actual cooldown of the move is actually 11 seconds. 11-second auto dodge move. Pretty good. But that's not the reason why it's going to rank this high. Let me introduce you to the stun global cooldown iframe attack move that allows you to hold it down, and it does around, I would say it does around 20 to 30 hits total. So if you use this move in competitive, you will get 3,000 or mode back, or more mode back. Also, this does bypass the perfect block system, because if you perfect block this, they can immediately start attacking you after, as I'll show you guys right now. I'm going to tell him to perfect block this. Look, so he's going to perfect block. He teleports away, and then you can actually just bypass the perfect block. You see all those tiny hits with it? You see all of those tiny hits. Each one of those hits is 100 mode in competitive. I can't with this move. It is, I'm not lying when I say this. If you use this move in competitive, it is quite literally an instant win because you get enough mode to Z mode to heal yourself. So while the other person only gets the mode, let's say once a match, you'll be able to mode like 6-7 times by using this move with other multi-hit moves. It is also insanely good just as a standalone move because it does allow you to start combos. It is literally uncounterable unless you Ember entry into the air, and it's just absolutely insane ability. I think for that ability alone, it should be first place, and also has a really good auto dodge as I showed you. The other moves aren't even worth showing when compared to those. Anyways, guys, before this video, if you enjoyed this video, really excited for this, guys. Bye bye.